Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Fiona Murphy, and I just want to extend, first of all, a very warm welcome to all of you, even if it is virtually. It's a beautiful spring day here on the island of Ireland, from where I'm sitting at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a little bit of background to the course and address then some of your questions. Professor Brian is going to deal with some of the questions as I'm speaking, but I'll pause through a number of the slides and give you the opportunity to question on the sort of discrete aspects of the course that I'm speaking about. So in terms of my own background, I've been program convener for the past year on the Masters, and I've worked since the very beginning of the Masters program, actually. It grew out of the Mitchell Institute. I've worked in one way or another on the program, teaching and being involved in various roles. So it's a wonderful program, and we're absolutely delighted that you're considering it and that you're here with us this evening. So I suppose the first dimension of this program is the fact that it brings together a very unique, novel sort of combination of conflict transformation and social justice through an interdisciplinary lens. So the very foundation of this entire program is the fact that it's interdisciplinarity in terms of the way in which it deals with, engages with ideas of conflict transformation, peace building, reconciliation, and social justice. And I suppose in a number of ways, this diversity it also attracts a very diverse range of students who come to the classroom with a huge sort of range of experience and very, very diverse backgrounds. And our classrooms are, very exciting places to be because of this. The students that are attracted to this program are attracted because of an interest in change in a world that's been ridden by conflict, and they emerge as individuals who are confident and skilled in their ability to be change makers and peace brokers in the space of conflict transformation and social justice. And through the program, you have the sort of, chance to meet a whole lot of leading researchers in the area of conflict transformation, peace building, social justice, not just academic researchers, but practitioners, and that's, I think, a key part of the program itself. The program, as I said, grew out of the Mitchell Institute. It's currently housed and administered and taught through HAP, but it retains its very close links to the Mitchell Institute. The Mitchell Institute and HAP, the school, are both housed in very beautiful red brick buildings, as Gemma pointed out. And one of the sort of interesting parts of this is that within the Mitchell Institute, it becomes a kind of a home, actually, for our conflict students. There is a really beautiful common room there that students can avail of, eat their lunches in, rest, relax in, and beyond the sort of aesthetics of the place itself, have very, very regular contact and engagement with the researchers and practitioners that work therein through a variety of outlets. And I'm going to talk you through a little bit the various spaces in which those interactions occur. The school itself offers a range of very diverse courses and electives, again, all taught by experts in their area, not just focused on conflict in Northern Ireland, but with expertise, a very, very broad range of expertise globally. And again, that's what's significant to this program in terms of the conversations that we can have, not only in an interdisciplinary sense, but in that sort of broad geographic comparative sense as well. And Belfast itself is a living case study in conflict transition and peace and social justice. And many of the courses actually allow you to engage in very both scholarly and practical ways with individuals, communities, organisations involved in this very important act of conflict transformation in Belfast and Northern Ireland. And in fact, Professor Brian, he might be able to field some of the questions around this, teaches one of those courses around the anthropology of conflict and is one of our leading researchers and practitioners who engages in work on Northern Ireland. So we're delighted to be able to have him here this evening to answer some of your questions around that. And further to this, beyond sort of engaging with practitioners that are based in the university, the institute and the school ensure that you have a variety of contacts through various masterclasses with practitioners from around the world. Specifically, our students have contact with Senator George Mitchell, who you see in the picture, and we usually ensure that there's an annual masterclass with Senator Mitchell. So I'll just talk you through the structure of the course a little bit. So I suppose the first thing to remember is that we have two compulsory modules. One is around approaches to research design, which gives you a very strong background in different kinds of methodologies and different approaches to researching, studying and understanding, and indeed writing about conflict transformation and social justice. And this is particularly important for the dissertation component of your master's program, which I'll speak to you a little bit about. The sort of more significant core module is our first module, the anchoring module, which is set up in a way in which to help students understand interdisciplinary concepts and practice of conflict transformation and social justice. And through that course, you come into contact with a range of experts who research and teach on those topics, but from very different in very different ways, which allows us then to sort of bring those different approaches into conversation with one another and arrive in that sort of interdisciplinary understanding of conflict transformation, which is core to what we do. This course is positioned at the beginning of the program and allows students who do not have a background in these kinds of topics or subjects to learn that language, to familiarize themselves with the literature, and that's particularly important. And every year students find this course particularly important to them in terms of their learning and their ability then to go forward in their electives to understand the kinds of language and terminology around conflict in different kinds of settings. And so both those courses are core and valuable. We then offer a number of optional modules, and students are empowered and supported by staff working on the master's program to choose those electives, and to choose those electives in a way that meet their particular personal and professional needs and their sort of future ambitions in terms of where they want to go later on for their career. And those modules, we're very lucky to say, span a range of schools across the university. So you can get insights from a legal practitioner, from a theologian, from an anthropologist, from a sociologist, from a literary scholar on the different kinds of approaches to conflict through these courses. And I'll just show you on the next slide a number of those courses. So first, we have a number of courses that are specifically designed for your program. And I'm just going to highlight one or two of these. A very, very popular one amongst our students. Actually, this is an award-winning course in the university. It's taught by Dr. Gladys Ganiel on religion and peace building. And this brings together approaches to religion and looks at the role of religion in brokering peace with a particular focus on Northern Ireland. She also has a range of other comparative contexts. And what she does in this course is she brings in a lot of practitioners from across the region to speak about their experience around religion and peacemaking in a Northern Ireland context. Another course specifically designed for the programme is the Legacy of Conflict. This is an excellent course that brings in not only practitioners and experts in conflict, but actually survivors of conflict who speak and give their sort of personal experience and engage students in all kinds of important ways. And another really interesting course that we offer, and again a very hands-on applied course, is the course on conflict mediation, in which people and students learn the really hands-on skills around learning how to mediate. And again, you learn those from a range of experts, and from a range of experts who've worked in very different geographic areas. So we have Professor Michael Semple from the Institute, who has been key in a lot of work in Afghanistan, who teaches on this course. And then we have some practical mediators from the space of business who give you those tools as well. So it's a very, very diverse but very, very rich course in which students really learn a lot of very applied hands-on skills. So that's very important to us too, that you're engaging with the scholarly theoretical sort of underpinnings of conflict transformation and social justice, but that you're also learning the applied practical skills, and that you're able to put those two things into conversation with one another in order to make you ultimately, I suppose, a better scholar and a better practitioner in this particular space. Again, just a sample of the autumn electives, which you can take, and you can choose from across a range of these. And again, your advisor of studies and me as program convener will sit down and assist you in making those decisions. We have a number of programs, modules from law, for example, such as Transitional Justice, International Human Rights Law, Human Rights in Practice. If you're interested in more the cultural side of conflict transformation, we have you have the option of taking a cultural policy course, and as I said, a specific theatre course that's specifically designed for students on this course. And again, you can pick and mix, as I said, depending on your own interests and your sort of future ambitions. Here are some of our electives for spring. We have a range of offerings from anthropology in both the arts and conflicts and business. And again, Professor Bryan can maybe speak a little bit to the conflict offering here. We also have a number of modules that the school teaches on other programs, such as the terrorism program, where you sit in and engage with students in that class, such as the counterterrorism module, the global terrorism module. And then we have very importantly, some environmental modules. As many of you know, climate crisis is a burgeoning issue, and one which will in the future be coupled with conflict, and the need for experts to think through that. So we have a number of modules in that space as well, very, very importantly. In the summer period, all students will complete a dissertation. The dissertation is 15,000 words. Usually students start work on their dissertation around mid-May, and submission is around the 10th or 11th of September. So you have a number of months to lead your own independent research project, and this is very exciting. Students love doing this, and they really get stuck in with a range of very diverse, interesting topics, some based on their learnings through the year, some sort of more connected to applied projects that they're interested in sort of developing after the program. So students work on a range of issues. This year, for example, we have a lot of students working on asylum seeker, refugee issues, some students working on more historical aspects of the Northern Ireland conflict, students working on topics related to Afghanistan. So that's just to name a few. I suppose one of the key things here again is, and very importantly, which sets us apart from a lot of programs, is this access to supervisors from across the university. So if you have a particular interest in law or a particular interest in sociology or education, then you can find a supervisor in one of those spaces beyond the school or the institute itself. And we very much value this interdisciplinary approach to supervision, and also this interdisciplinary approach to writing. And as I said, that's core to how the dissertations take place. Something else that we offer are a very broad range of events from outside of the core modules and the electives themselves. We offer a mural tour, and again, Professor Bryan is our expert on murals here, and he very kindly does this for us. Students will have master classes specifically designed for your class, and these are hosted by the Institute, and these give you very close contact, usually with quite high level politicians from Northern Ireland and beyond, as well as practitioners. For example, we had one recently scheduled with the former police ombudsman of Northern Ireland, and a range of other people. And as I said, usually Senator Mitchell gives one of those as well. And that's a really enriching experience for our students in terms of their engagement with practitioners and politicians on their subject matter. The Mitchell Institute and the school, importantly, host a broad range of seminars throughout the year. So it's a very, very vibrant campus in terms of having seminars and conferences and events to attend. So that's always there going on the background, and so much there for students to do. Within the program itself, every year, a group of students from the masters get together and come together and do a podcast. And this is actually the second year that this is running. And if you go onto the Mitchell Institute webpage, you'll see all the recent podcasts down on the side. It's called MPod. And they've done, I have to say, an amazing job this year. Like one of the recent topics they covered was anti-sectarianism and punk in Northern Ireland. They spoke to former students around their work, and they've interviewed a range of different practitioners around conflict transformation. And so again, next year, for those of you interested in this is an option to learn how to do a podcast, to train how to do the editing and to do all of the sort of work around that. So this is a wonderful experience for many students. Every year, the postgraduate students from the program also design and lead a student conference. This year, it's called True Stories. It's on May 25th. Again, if you log on to the Mitchell Institute webpage, you'll see the conference. I'm very excited about it. They've done a fantastic job given the conditions. They've moved the whole conference online. It's a virtual conference. So if you're interested and you want to attend, if you want to attend this conference in May, that would be a really nice opportunity maybe for some of you to engage with some of our current and former students who are presenting their work there. And then there's a lot of student initiated events. Both the school and the Institute provide lots of spaces for you and support funding for student-led events. And this is really valuable as well. So film showings, discussions. We have regular fireside chats. Again, actually, some of these are virtual at the moment. There's a few upcoming. So again, if you go on to the Institute webpage there, you'll see that very clearly. So all in all, it's an extremely inspiring environment. Students get an awful lot from it. Not just in scholarly terms, but in terms of the engagements that they get with practitioners, organizations, survivors of conflict, the relationships that they form in class. As I said, it's a very diverse, enriching classroom experience with some wonderful, wonderful lecturers who have done amazing research, not just in Northern Ireland, but beyond. One of the other aspects of the programme is that we have a unique set of partnerships with a range of organisations in Northern Ireland. Now, we don't have a formalised internship in this programme, so there's no requirement for you to do an internship, but a lot of our students take up the opportunity to volunteer maybe a few hours or a day, a week with a number of these different organizations. You can see some of them are listed here. And that's something that I can facilitate for you. And often what happens here is that students, in fact, end up maybe even writing their dissertations or forming their topics around some of the sort of more applied work that they've done in these kinds of spaces. So it's really important for us that we maintain these very key links with very important organizations who are doing key work in the act of conflict transformation and social justice in Northern Ireland. So where have our students ended up? Lots of very interesting jobs, state jobs, NGO, civil sector jobs, some into law, some in more sort of foreign service jobs, some working very directly with, as you see here, victim services, some working with asylum seekers and refugees and in more displacement settings. So a very, very broad range. And that reflects the sort of broad range of expertise and skills that emerge from the very broad interdisciplinary modules that we offer in this programme. And this slide just sort of indicates beyond the programme itself, Queen's has a very well-resourced well-being and disability resources. Again, if this is something you are looking for, please go on and have a look at the kinds of assistance and supports that the university offers. This is something that the university does very well. And I'm just going to say thank you very much, and I'm so delighted that you are interested in our programme. Hopefully we'll have a chance to speak a little bit about questions in a minute. I think I'm just going to hand it over to Gemma, who's going to talk a little bit about fees and scholarships for a minute, and then we'll come back around to engaging with some of your questions. Thank you.
Okay, great, Fiona, thank you. Right, so just a couple of slides on fees and scholarships, and then we'll open it up to questions. I see there's quite a few questions in already, which Dominic and Peter are answering, which is great. Okay, so scholarships for home students. So for Northern Ireland and EU students, EU excluding GB, the fee is 6140 for 2020 entry, and for GB, so England, Scotland, Wales, it's 6900 for 2020 entry. There are loans available, so low interest loans that are similar to your undergraduate degree. They were introduced a couple of years ago, you'll be glad to know, and that's the link for those. You can find that information on our website. So, for example, if you're a Northern Ireland student and you want to study a master's, you can get a fee tuition loan of up to 5,500. For international students, the fees are higher, so there's quite a number of scholarships available. So the fees are 16,900 for 2020 entry. The top scholarship, International Office Postgraduate Taught Scholarship, is an automatic scholarship if you meet the conditions of your offer. So it's a £2,000 fee discount off the 16,900. We also have an early bird award. If you pay 90% of your fees by this deadline has been extended, the 15th of September, you get a further 10% off your fees. So that's quite a discount when you add the top two together. The third scholarship is the Vice Chancellor's full fee scholarship. There are a small number of those on offer. The deadline has not changed. It is the 12th of May, and you have to have an offer to apply for that. I've mentioned loyalty scholarships at the bottom there because if there's any international students listening who are currently at Queen's, unfortunately, you cannot avail of the scholarships that I've just mentioned, but you will get a 20% fee discount scholarship if you remain on in Queen's to do this programme. Further information on all of the scholarships can be found in that link, but we will be sending a recording of all of this out to you, and I will put links into the different loans, scholarships and so on that are relevant to the programme. I know there's some of you in this webinar who are considering applying for next year and even the year after. So just to let you know that you can apply online on the course finder, there's an apply button. If you're an international student, some international students apply through agents, but they generally would help with visas and so on if you're in certain countries, for example. So you can apply direct, or some international students apply through agents as well. We have no actual deadline to apply. We generally recommend students leave it no later than the end of June, ideally. But if you're an international student, you have to consider the time to apply and get your visa to come over as well. So I think we're now going to open it up to questions. So there seems to be quite a few questions coming in, which is great. So do you want to, I don't know if Dominic wants to switch on his camera or anything, and you'll just answer questions over the mic. Any further questions that you have?
Hi, everyone.
So do you want to read the questions out, or Does anybody any more questions? You can type them into the chat box if you wish.
I just see one here on sort of the part-time. The modules, the courses tend to be 2 hours to 3 hours. The core course is 3 hours. And with the part-time, you can take the core, one of the cores, and then 2 electives, and then take the remainder in the following year. So does that answer your question around the part-time? Yep, great.
Just to answer Sophie, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fiona, we don't the MA dissertations aren't defended in the sense of you having a viva or in front of people. That you have a lot of supervision through it, and then you hand it in September, and it's simply marked by a couple of examiners. But you have a lot of one-to-one supervision with your dissertation on the way to writing it. Martin, you mentioned the Irish language. In what way? What do you want to know about the Irish language?
Yeah, hi. I was just curious as to what courses were available.
Well, I can explain that. I had a long time running an MA in Irish Studies, and the issue with the Irish language is simply this: is that at MA level, lots of students do not have a good enough level in Irish to be able to do it. So we can't really do. You can do introductory courses in lots of places around Belfast, and we have Irish language experts, obviously, in the university, but it's not factored into the MA simply because of the level we're teaching, and most of our students wouldn't come in with that sort of level in Irish language. So it's not part of the course, although you can certainly do lots, and we would encourage people to go and do lots of introductory courses around Belfast and stuff at Queen's.
Yeah, one thing we should mention, Dominic, is that just to highlight the Language Centre in Queen's,
yes.
we posted a link to it, so you can do Irish in that. You can do like 20 up. I think there's a choice of between 20 and 30 different languages. So you can take any of those classes outside of your normal class, and it includes Irish. So they're generally very low cost, but we've posted a link. Peter posted a link there in the chat, and we can send you a link when we send out this recording. So basically, they're open to students on any program.
I can see a question from Lena on internships and volunteer opportunities in autumn. I suppose I know this isn't totally helpful, but we at the moment we wouldn't be promising anything because we really don't know what the situation is going to be like. You'll understand that although there's lots of opportunities in Belfast, and I work with a number of organisations in the city, we are having to wait and see exactly what the context will be vis-a-vis COVID in the autumn.
I just see a question there around the courses beyond the ones specifically designed. I just pulled up the slides again. So you can see these are all the courses that you have an option of accessing in autumn. In autumn, you will take the core conflict module, the anchor module. You will take the research module, and then you will choose from one of these electives. Okay, and these are based in law, the School of Sociology, Education and Social Work, and HAP, the home school. And then in the second, the spring modules, again, are right across a number of different schools, law, HAP, the Mitchell Institute, and again, education, sociology. So they're very diverse courses, taught from a range of perspectives. So in terms of timetabling and all of that, that's something that depends on the electives that you choose and so forth. The core module was usually timetabled for a Thursday afternoon, and that's a 3-hour class. Beyond that, the other electives are generally 2 hours. The legacy and conflict mediation are 3 hours. So they range. The sociology modules here, the inequality and emotions, those and conflict and change in sociology, those 2 modules are just 10 credits each. So generally students have to take both together. So hopefully that gives you, yeah.
I can see a question from Bavia about the number of courses you can take. There is a limitation on the number of courses you can take, and that's for education reasons. I applaud your enthusiasm, but the system's designed so that you have 3 modules. Some of them are split modules. So you can't. What you can sometimes do is sit in on other people's modules, and we can arrange that sort of thing. So there'll be masses. There'll be masses to see or do. I absolutely promise you. But from a learning point of view, there's only a set amount of modules that we would want somebody taking during a semester.
Yeah, for assessment purposes. But actually, this year, a lot of our international students in particular have audited a lot of different courses, and they just got permission from the module convener of that particular module and just sat in. So they've audited and they haven't done an assessment around it. But for assessment course, it is the 6 offerings, the 2 core and the 4 electives, and they're very diverse. But we give very close, I suppose, advice around these different modules and what they entail in terms of you putting them together for yourself, and I think that's important.
Rhonda, there's a question there from Rhonda. No, your dissertation will be marked on our percentage scale that we use in Ireland and the UK. It will be more than a pass or fail, so you'll get a first, a 2-1 or a 2-2, and a percentage grade in the dissertation. What have we got here?
So, Kira, before choosing courses, will we be able to see areas, content involved? Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, sometimes what happens with the sort of registration process is when you're registering, you're asked to sort of tick certain courses, but then afterwards, there is some movement there. But absolutely, you'll be able to have a look at the range of offerings, the kinds of readings, the topics, the structure, and the timetabling, of course, of all of that. Chelsea, oh yeah, sorry, Dom. Yeah,
I was going to say, Courtney, you've asked about the Transitional Justice elective. I don't take that one, and maybe Fiona could talk about it. But you say you're really passionate about it. Let me tell you, in nearly all our courses, we'll be carrying issues of transitional justice. It's a very strong issue in Northern Ireland at the moment. When you do when both Fiona and I teach in the anthropology of it, we're looking at things like commemoration and remembering and all of that sort of stuff. You'll find it difficult to avoid doing stuff on transitional justice, believe me.
Yeah, and the transitional justice comes in, of course, to the core module as well. The specific elective on transitional justice, that's taught through the law school. It's taught by a range of legal scholars, one of them being Professor Kieran McAvoy, who works in the Mitchell Institute as well. And he's got a range of very large research projects around transitional justice, specifically one on apologies and transitional justice. So you can have a little bit look at that and some of the work that they're doing, and I know that they teach a lot of that research. It's a very very interesting module that's anchored in the research that they're doing, but it also looks out and engages actually with practitioners, and I know there's a number of sort of field trips embedded in that course as well. So we get super feedback from that particular course. Kira, as well. Is that how is the relationship between conflict transformation and social justice? Are they treated as distinct areas? They're absolutely interlinked. It's a conversation moving between the different sort of understandings and the different disciplinary understandings, as well as applied understandings of conflict transformation, and how that sort of enters into dialogue with something like social justice. Some of the courses, the electives, of course, are very specifically looking at something like conflict and conflict transformation, and some of the courses are specifically looking at areas of social justice, peacemaking, but actually the core itself and the work that we do around the core brings those two things very strongly into dialogue, and a lot of that happens outside of the program in the sort of extracurricular events equally. So that relationship is core to what we do.
Chelsea asks if you can take classes outside the institute. Let me try and explain that. In many ways, most of the classes are outside the institute. They're based in the schools. So the institute is a fantastic research centre with lots of people in, but most of the classes are organised within the set of schools that exist around the institute. So that you could either be in the School of Law or in English. It's not called English now. I can't even remember what it's called. Or with us in history, anthropology, philosophy, and politics. So in a sense, a lot of your teaching will be from outside the institute. The institute is sort of a hub or a base that you will be in. I see a question from Matt on prison abolition. I'm trying to think up whether we have an expert in that area. We have somebody working on American prisons in history.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So a question about internship. So there's no structured internship as part of this program, just to clarify that. There are the opportunities to have volunteer placements. It's something that I do. I will liaise with those organizations on your behalf. Some students avail of these opportunities, some students do not. So that's entirely up to yourself in terms of that.
Gloria, the relationship between religion and conflict will come up in course after course. Especially given that we're living in the north of Ireland, in Northern Ireland, where the link between religion and conflict has been a central discussion point. We do lectures and modules on that sort of issue. You'll get plenty of that, believe me.
Melanie, you have a question about creating a dissertation or writing a dissertation that fits your particular interest. Absolutely, and that's part of what we're doing. So something on grassroots entrepreneurship as a means of peace and economic development. Absolutely, and we will work with you in order to find the appropriate supervisor for you. Often actually that's something that sort of happens organically. People discover someone that they want to work with through the process of taking the various courses and electives, but certainly that process of developing a dissertation is completely open.
Selena, you're asking about could you talk a bit more about what other courses are possible as electives? Well, you've seen the list that Fiona's put up, and really when you come to us, we'll be talking to you about the list of modules. There's some core modules, but the ones that best suit you. So we'll be asking you questions about what your central interest is, what might you want to do your dissertation on, and then on that basis we will look at some of those other options that you might want to take. And sometimes you'll be more suited to doing humanities or drama. Others of you might be more suited to doing law, and we will try and look to see what best suits you.
Christopher, I see your question in terms of choosing electives. Is it possible to balance topics of conflict in the north of Ireland and also more? Absolutely. As I said, the range of researchers, academics, practitioners that you meet are not just Northern Ireland focused, and a lot of the courses actually deal and engage with conflict and conflict transformation, social justice through an international lens. So again, that's something that you can also sort of engage with through the varied modules and electives. You'll see that some of them are very specifically on, there's one there on the politics of the Republic of Ireland. There's some specifically around Northern Ireland, and then there's ones that are much more sort of international or broader in their reach. Like I said, the legacy of conflict module works in that particular way. It brings in a lot of very diverse voices, scholars, practitioners that engage with conflict transformation in that particular way. So absolutely.
Fiona, Karen's asking about the SOC modules. I assume that's the sociology ones. Are you? I'm not sure which ones those are. Do you? You see the question from Karen there?
Is that the sociology?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sociology modules. Oh no, that's what are SOSC? So they're the sociology of emotions and the sociology of conflict and change. And as I said, students generally take those two modules together because they're just 10 credits each. So you have to take the two together.
Kira's asking about geographic specialisms. Well, we've got a lot. We've got people, I mean, Fiona herself has done stuff in Australia. We've got a number of people who worked in Australia. We've already mentioned South America and Colombia. We've certainly got people with experience in the Middle East.
Cyprus, Turkey. I do some work myself in Turkey. I mean, it's vast. It's vast. So it's vast beyond Northern Ireland itself. So there's it's very, very diverse in that respect. So Pearl, what is the diversity of the program? Like 30% international students from the US. People come from all across the world. For the past number of years, we've had very diverse classes. People from the US, Nigeria, India, Mexico, the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland. So it's a very diverse class, and I think that's something that's also been a very enriching experience, and diverse not only in terms of people's geographic backgrounds actually, but in terms of their scholarly backgrounds and their interests, and it's really what makes it a very enriching classroom experience, I have to say. Have you had students from Ghana yet? No, actually, I don't think we have on the program.
I'm looking at Lena. Is there an opportunity to do international field work in support of our dissertation? There is. I mean, we look very carefully at all the opportunities. We have to do risk and ethical reviews of all of the research before people get out there. Yeah, but obviously we are very keen that people can internationalize their research as much as they can. Needless to say, right at the moment we're dealing with issues of students who wanted to do that and are finding that very difficult. But yeah, if we can do that, we're delighted. I can see user 145. Are the perspectives, for example, we're based in Ireland, so I can promise you discussions around post-colonialism are ever present in nearly all of the subjects that we teach, and we have a number of non-European perspectives which would be part of it. We've had people talk, for instance, obviously on South Africa and Zimbabwe over the years. So one of my former students did research on that area. So the answer to that is definitely yes.
Someone's asking what podcast. Well, I'm going to promote my current students' work. Actually, I'm going to say please listen to their absolutely brilliant series of podcasts on the Mitchell Institute and actually webpage, and that'll really give you a very good sense of, because some of those podcasts are with some of the current and past students as well. So it'll give you a really good sense of some of the work that they're doing and the way in which they're engaging and how they're articulating it. So that's one place to start actually. Sorry, I think I'm conscious I'm missing some questions because it's kind of rolling down quickly, but Madeline, can I speak more about the courses that explore the relationship between conflict, transformation, peace building, art, and creative practices? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a few of those, as I've said, one specifically designed around theatre studies. We also have a new music, anthropology of music module offered, and we have a really good, engaging sort of cultural policy module. So there are a number of them that work in that way. So you can, if that's your particular interest in relation to conflict transformation, you can absolutely design your program, as it were, in that particular way, so that you can.
Yes, I had one of my former students came in with that particular interest and was interested in public art in space. And you can look up her book now. She went on, did a PhD, and her name's Brianna Hocking, and she's ended up writing a book on public art and peace building in Northern Ireland. So we're very interested in that topic.
Joe, can you focus on journalism, media role? And absolutely, Joe. Actually, on this year's program, we actually have two mature students, journalists who've returned, and that's their specific interest in terms of their engagement. But actually, as it turns out, they're now writing their dissertations on something slightly different. But absolutely.
Axel, I mean, there's a number of ways people can begin to learn to publish. We've actually just recently started a blog in the school where students are blogging about that, and we will there will be a number of conferences run by our students which give them experience of presenting papers and in early publication. You'll know it's quite a business of becoming an academic when you start moving up the chain and start publishing, but you will have early opportunities with us for publishing and beginning to learn how to write and put it out there in the public.
And I just see the one about opportunities for PhDs. There are absolutely opportunity for PhDs, particularly in the school, particularly in HAP. There's a range of funding that comes available in the year that you have to apply for. So that's certainly one thing that we have had a number of students, a percentage of our master's students who stay in and continue to do PhDs with us. Teaching opportunities, generally not at masters at the master's level. Generally, those opportunities present themselves once you kind of move on to PhD.
There's a question there about Middle Eastern conflict. I mean, for years, Beverly Milton Edwards, who's been with us for years and has taught on these courses, is away at the moment. I'm trying to think if we have a Middle Eastern.
Yeah, so Zahir.
It depends, of course. Go on.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Tom, I'm jumping in. Dr. Zahir Kazmi has a particular expertise in the Middle East, and he does some teaching on the religion and peace building course. And Michael Semple in the region of Afghanistan, and he teaches on both the legacy and the mediation course.
That question, to what extent are you hoping for input from students' own background into general discussions? Absolutely, and all the time. That's what makes the thing so rich. That's what makes it so lovely to teach, is that all of you have got stuff in your head, you've got knowledge, you've got experience, which you bring to it. I mean, we as anthropologists, that's what we love. We love hearing what your experiences are, the way you view the world. And that's what makes the course so rich.
Borders experts, absolutely. Love borders on the island of Ireland. So there are lots of experts and lots of very interesting work being done, and particularly recently actually around Brexit. So yeah.
If you look at the head of the Mitchell Institute, Hastings Donnan, if you look him up, you'll find that he has effectively the textbook on borders.
Yeah. Sorry, just a question on when do we work with an advisor to select our courses for the programme? So when you come to Queen's, generally as programme convener, I will assist you in the sort of selection of courses, offer you advice. Some people before they come have a very sort of firm idea of what it is that they want to do, the direction that they want to take. Sometimes that changes when they sit down and kind of reflect a little bit more. But certainly the staff involved on the master's programme are available to you to offer that kind of advice.
Looks like we might have worn you all out.
Well, thank you so much for showing up to this webinar from so many places in the world. We appreciate the interest and we look forward to meeting some of you in person.
And just asking, I mean, Rhonda, you know, there's all sorts of planning going into dealing with the situation around COVID-19. Some of it we're involved with a little bit. Much of it is above our pay grade as to what will happen next. But you can rest assured, I mean, the university has a special a unit set up to try and deal with it. Like everybody else, we're trying to confront things as we come along. And it, you know, it's a terrible time. It's also an intensely interesting time. All sorts of things are changing, and there's no better time to be studying and thinking about how our world works. I've just been I did a seminar the other day looking at how COVID has affected divided cities, and now is the time to be studying and thinking and getting engaged.
So just to confirm that the university will notify everyone about start dates. Anybody who's applied, there's different options being considered, and we'll be keeping you posted about that very soon. They're considering a number of options.
Well, thank you all very much, and those of you that are still with us, you all stay safe in these difficult and complicated times. But as I say, stay engaged with everything. Now's the time to be thinking about all of these sorts of issues and how our world's changing. There's never been a more important time to look at all of this stuff.